Tory, I think he's lied or he's recklessly negligent. Either way, it makes him unfit to be Prime Minister. It's as simple as that for us. I mean, let's face this, Peter Mandelson was a wrong one from the start, and this is a political appointment, so Keir Starmer's got to take responsibility for that and for it going wrong. We revealed what was going on with Mandelson back in September. Kemi Badenoch stood up in the House, and that led to his sacking. But then we put measures in place to reveal the information around Peter Mandelson's appointment, which have still not all come to light. It's been suppressed by the government. So he's had every opportunity to find the truth. If you didn't know the truth, to find the truth, and that's equally as bad as lying in the first place. So whatever it is, whether it's lying or recklessly negligent, he should resign.
That I wasn't told that Peter Mandelson had failed security vetting when he's appointed is staggering. That I wasn't told that he'd failed security vetting when I was telling Parliament that due process had been followed is unforgivable. Not only was I not told, no minister was told. And I'm absolutely furious about that. What I intend to do is to go to Parliament on Monday to set out all the relevant facts in true transparency so Parliament has the full picture.
But yeah, I mean, he's got to show what he knew when, basically. I mean, he still hasn't revealed this security vetting information. There was a due diligence report which was submitted before this security vetting that should be revealed. Some of the information that already been released is not complete information, so he needs to basically publish all the information straight away so we can make a proper judgment of the Prime Minister's judgment, which we know to be flawed. And we know he's not a serious leader for this country. And let's look at this, step back from this, because if you talk to the real people in the real world, they're particularly worried about things like the cost of living crisis and what's happening in Iran and our defence strategy, all this stuff. And this country's not been run properly. So we need a Prime Minister who can deal with these issues, who can tackle the cost of living crisis, who will start drilling in the North Sea, who will scrap the intended rise in fuel duty, who will implement our cheap power plan, which could cut people's bills by 20% straight away. That's what people want to see, rather than a Prime Minister in number 10 that's lurching from one crisis to the next.
The reality is, he is undermining the very fabric that underpins government. He likes to present himself as a man of spotless integrity. This, remember, is a Prime Minister who spent his entire time in opposition telling people that he was whiter than white, telling the country that the rules mattered, that standards mattered, that misleading Parliament mattered.
Absolutely, Ollie Robbins has been thrown under a bus here. It was quite clear what Peter Mandelson was like. Keir Starmer in opposition was so sanctimonious, and also he claimed all these wonderful values. Like he said, which has been a little video of him, which I tweeted yesterday, which said, basically, I'll always carry the can for my staff, even when they make mistakes. He doesn't do that at all. He basically throws them under a bus to save his skin. It's quite obvious that this appointment was a political appointment, which at the request of Keir Starmer himself. That's why this has happened. And now, when it all came to light, he still sought to put in place a rearguard action to prevent the information coming out. I mean, there were independent journalists, a journalist from The Independent called David Maddox, asked number 10 back in September, is it true that Mandelson failed the vetting process? And they just completely blanked him. They responded, but said proper process was followed. And so they knew what was going on here. Number 10 knew what was going on here. It's simply implausible that Keir Starmer didn't know what was going on. And if he did, and given that this is 6 months in the making, all this scandal, why hasn't he asked the questions before today? Rather than saying he's furious with everybody else. The responsibility is his and his alone.
I do not believe a word the Prime Minister says. I'm sorry, I don't, because when he was asked about this previously, he said in Parliament that under the vetting, he had been told about the ongoing relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He then said, outside of Parliament, that the whole procedure had been gone through and approved. Now, both of those statements cannot be right. And I do not believe that Ollie Robbins is one of the most senior civil servants in the country would not have briefed the Prime Minister and briefed Number 10 about what the dangers were. So I don't believe a word the Prime Minister's saying, and they'll try and kick it into the long grass. But my view is this will further lead to electoral losses for the Labour Party on May the 7th, and I just don't think he can possibly survive, and nor do I think he should.
I think he'll carry on, limp on. I say from one crisis to the next, because ultimately it's the people around you, his cabinet ministers, his backbenchers, who will seal the fate of the Prime Minister. I don't think they're ready yet to kick him out, but it's a matter of time. I mean, it'll be a disastrous set of election results in May for the Labour Party, and so I think the calls from within his own team, within the parliamentary party, for him to resign will get ever louder. There already are some Labour parliamentarians calling for him to go, including Lord Glasman, a Labour peer, and I think those calls will grow in the coming weeks.
I'm afraid the Prime Minister's story just doesn't stack up. He can't really expect us to believe that his top official went totally rogue on a matter of fundamental national security, or that having relied on the vetting process, he didn't check the facts in the months after Peter Mandelson resigned, and that when he supposedly learned about this on Tuesday, that he didn't directly come to the House of Commons to put the record straight. I'm afraid the story just is incredible, and I'm afraid he has to go.
It was quite clear what Peter Mandelson was like right from the start. He'd resigned several times from office under previous Labour governments. It was quite clear this was a dodgy appointment for somebody who is a dodgy individual. And they knew, the Prime Minister admitted he knew of Mandelson's links to Epstein, the serial paedophile Epstein. They knew about his links to China and Russia through his business. They knew that previously he's had to resign for poor behaviour or malpractice in government. So to think now that the Keir Starmer will simply say, "Oh my God, I thought this individual was whiter than white and I wasn't told," is simply not plausible.
Are you next to be arrested, Mr. Mandelson? Do you deceive the Prime Minister, Mr. Mandelson?
Well, we'll try anything because we think that's in the best interest of the country rather than the best interest of our party. But our options are limited in that we don't have a majority in the House of Commons. Otherwise, we would have called for no confidence, which would have been passed. But I think it's unlikely at this point in time the Labour backbenchers who would be needed to be able to support that, to get rid of him, won't support that. But I say we'll keep putting the pressure on. We put in place this thing called a humble address back in February, which made the Prime Minister reveal all the information. There may be other similar tactics that actually forces his hand to properly reveal that information, because he hasn't done that yet. So any mechanism we have, and we won't reveal everything we are planning, but we will do whatever we can to hold this government to account in the best interest of the country.